I used to have a little following, like a handful of people who follow me on YouTube. Everybody's gone. I'm just trying to reconnect, but I can't see nobody. Even on a day like today, Halloween. I same problem. Ah, when you come on, ma, 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 ma. I lose control. Hey, hey. I'm playing my girl power soundtrack, folks. I want to share something though. So I posted uh, a post, for lack of a better word. I posted it on Threads. And I posted this post because I was talking about like home ownership, right? So this house that I'm sitting in, I had a house in Philadelphia and I sold it and I bought this house in Delaware, Dover, Delaware, and quite by accident because like how does one move from Philadelphia to Dover? My sister lives in Smyrna. And so I had come down to visit my sister in Smyrna. And Smyrna is like 20 miles up from Dover, I think, like another town up in Delaware. And so visiting my sister at the time when they wanted to do any significant shopping from Smyrna, she would, I mean, they have supermarkets and stuff, but, you know, like stores, we have the Dover Mall down here, and she would come down and go to like your Macy's and your J.C. Penney's and your, what else was there? Boscov's, and you could go and grab stuff for the kids and get shopping done. And that's what when I visited her, get out of Philly City. So on this particular day, she drove into Dover and she was going around, like just doing a drive around, running errands. And she drove through an area, North Little Creek area, right? And then while she was driving through, she drove past some developments, but this one in particular was being done by Ryan's, right? The builder, Ryan's. And it was called Clearview Meadow. And so she drove in and she's like, you know, we used to love to do that. Like, my father's a builder. There's just something in us. And we're like, okay, want to go drive through and look at these houses that they're building? I was like, yeah, let's do it. So she drove in. We drove around the development. Now, houses were being built, so everything wasn't built out as yet. And so, in the process of us just checking out everything, right? She, there's a, they got this show place where they build a model house. So, we had gone into the model house. You could go in, like, it was right beside the office. So, you had the office and then the model house. And, or the model house was the office, so to speak. So, yeah. So, we went in there and they had the office in the garage kind of section of the house, and then they could do a walkthrough, and they showed you what is how this place is set up, how it looks like, and they tricked it out so it's like you could see the setup, the showing. So it's a showing. It's showing how you could make a home here because the bedroom is laid out quite nicely. The whole house, like tricked out, for you to see and say, oh my, I could live here. And so basically, when I did that, so something moved out of the corner, right? Yeah, when I did that, I came into the house, and just like I'm sitting here now, this, where I'm sitting, was an empty lot. And this was a corner lot in the property. And the guy was saying to my sister, like, she was doing all the talking because she's the one who recently purchased this big house that's in Smyrna and all that good stuff. So she was doing the talking. I was living in Philly at the time, and I had no plans to move. I lived close to work. Like, everything was great. And this was in about 2018. So no pandemic on the horizon. It was just people living, people moving about, people talking, and me visiting my sister, and we're hanging out. Lo and behold, you know, they had like about 4 or 5 lots in the whole development that were available for sale. And through talking, I'm learning, this guy from the NRV, and from Ryan's, they were just telling us about the requirements to get a house in a development such as this. These were new houses. So if you get one, they'd have to build it for you, because my sister moved into hers like in about 2016, and it was newly built. So there's nothing that beats a new house smell. Just like a new car, there's nothing that beats a new house smell. So lo and behold, I got to talking with a guy, and I'm realizing I own my place in Philly, and I'm just realizing, like, in terms of the requirements, like, they were like, if you're interested, and they were sweetening, like, every sentence. Like, that guy was a salesman. With every sentence that came out of his mouth, he was just sweetening the deal and talking about just the incentives that they could add on if I wanted to purchase a house. And the first thing that got my attention was, one, this is a corner lot that I'm in now, and it had like a lot of land to the side and at the back. And the side between me and the one neighbor I would have, so it was the corner lot, you have a street. So I have street at the back, I have a neighbor at the back, and at the side I have a neighbor at the back, but all of this side to that, whatever, no neighbors and all of that. So a corner lot is pretty cool. I was sitting there thinking, okay, I'm not even remotely thinking of moving or anything. But they gave me a packet, because they have their packet. They gave me a packet. And the guy said, if you are interested, we're going to sweeten the deal for you. Because this is a corner lot. There was X amount of thousands of dollars, like a premium that you would have to pay in addition, like over 10 grand, to kind of get this particular lot. And they were saying we would sweeten the incentive, that we could take something off the overall price and make it a viable option for you if you are interested. And lo and behold, When he said that, I became interested. I know I had a bunch of things going for me because, like, one, I said I lived in my own home back in Philly that I had purchased. But the thing is, I worked in Philly and I was like, this is Dover. The commute would be a bitch. At the time, I had a new car, so I wasn't worrying about getting from, to and from, and all that good stuff. It wasn't about it. It was like conditioning the mind to, like, okay, I came from Jamaica, I've lived in Philly, and I wasn't, you know, I wasn't planning on moving. But at the same time, guys, here's my sister. Charging started. Who was a nurse in Philly, who packed up and moved to Smyrna. So sometimes you have to see people do things sometimes. And I was just thinking, like, I can do this. And I'm there listening to the guy speak, and I wasn't playing my hand. So I was like, oh my God, it's traveling so far. Like, at the time he was talking, I had zero interest. But I wanted the information just in case. That's all we do. You give me the packet, tell me about this, and they were saying, okay, for this, you would get this kind of countertop, but if you do this, we can bump you up. That's like talking about, like, these people are salespeople, just talking about upgrades. If you take if you want this update, upgrades, just selling, selling, selling. Okay, don't want, what about this? Like, those guys were really good salespeople. So I got the information, the packet, and everything, and I went on back to Philly. I went on about my business, and he said, here's my card, right? If you are interested, call me before these 2 weeks are up for us to talk. And if you're interested, one, we're still going to give you all those incentives that I talked about. And if you, just give me a check for XYZ amount, and then we can start getting you processed to do this. I left and I went back to Philly, but I did a smart thing. I left a check with my sister. I don't want a house. I don't want to move. Something in my spirit said, leave that check with your sister. I left that check with my sister with my signature and the amount that he mentioned. Like, if you want us to hold this and ensure that you get this property, I'm not going to mention it to nobody else for 2 weeks. So if you want it, that's my offer to you. I took his card. I took the packet with everything about the house, the size, the square footage, just like everything. The paper, no paperwork. I didn't have to sign it. I didn't sign anything. I didn't commit to anything, but they give you the packet because it's free. I want to go home and look at the plans and think about the neighborhood and the things that I'd seen. And the place wasn't built out fully. Like, you have many houses in here, but while I talk, like on that street back there were houses going up. I went home and I thought about it. My sister had a check. And I went to work and, I did my work and I started to look into, like, one, I knew what my credit worthiness was. It was in very, very excellent standing. And just these things that, because I'd purchased a house before and I had gone to school and learned about all these good practices. Like, when you're buying a home, don't put yourself in no unnecessary debt. You don't have to buy no expensive this or that. Just live on a basic level. You don't got to buy no fancy nothing, no nothing. Just live on a basic level and just be cool. That's what I did. And so for that almost 2 weeks, I did a lot of online researching, just looking up the area, looking at the paperwork in front of me, My sisters, I got a bunch of sisters, so I call them. They all own homes, and they've lived here in the U.S. longer than me. So I was picking my brain, you know, picking their brains. One work in banking, one's a teacher, nurse manager. My brother is a VP of a bank. So I was getting good advice in terms of like monetary, in terms of like property purchase, purchasing property. I am also a property owner, so I know about the good tenants and the good practices and the requirements that you need to be a stand up and a good property owner and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sharing this because I just did a post on Threads, and I talked about this being the fifth year since I've been in the house. I did end up purchasing it. I did reach out and tell my sister, go give this guy the check to hold his property for me. I did also get on the phone and talk to him and the people and started the paperwork to purchase this property. I did get the incentives off for the corner lot. Because they hold this like at the end to sweeten the deal for people coming in and wanting it and all of that. But he used it because they had a timeline and a deadline to close out this property because they were breaking ground somewhere else up the street. It became a selling point for him to me, and I ended up reaping these lovely incentives that kind of pulled me in to say, okay, maybe I would consider moving from the city life to more suburban kind of life and that kind of thing. I've never regretted it, not one time. And so the PMIs, when you pay and you sign up and you pay less than the like 20% down, you get a PMI, which is a insurance that you pay to the financiers of the mortgage as a kind of goodwill, and they keep that until you get to like 70%, 70 odd percent of the value of the home, and then it goes away. So I encountered that like early in the year, run about the first couple of, yeah, in the summer, in July, I think. And one of the things that they said to me was like, if so we're going to take this amount off because it's the mortgage insurance and it's going to return back to you. However, if you as a homeowner feels so inclined, you don't have to take that amount and put it in your pocket. You can start applying that amount to the principal. And the principal is like the dollar value of the house. So just imagine you're paying the mortgage, your mortgage pays insurance, your mortgage pays escrow, and all those additional charges, right? But then you have this sum that you're getting back because you're no longer paying that insurance, so to speak. And it's coming back to you, but you're still paying it into the mortgage as a principal, which I did. It allowed me to pay, like when they're recalculating, they're doing the calculations of the amortization that they had perceived and calculated, like in terms of when you pay this per year, what's the outlook? What are you going to be asked to pay in the next year and the next year and the next? Because I've been applying that to the principal, when you apply money to the principal, it takes down the cost of the home. So what that did was jump me down in terms of how much I'm going to be asked to pay for my mortgage next year. And what that's going to do is give me back even more money in my pocket that I am not going to keep. I'm still going to apply that to the principal. That's going to help me to push, continue to paying off for this home even quicker. So that's why I'm on here making this video, because I'm going to keep it and I'm going to post it. Because when I made the post on Thread talking about my PMI, There were so many people. I got like over 8,000 hits, like people viewing, asking questions, how long was I paying the PMI, and that kind of thing. And I'm like, oh, there's an appetite for that kind of information out there. There really is. Because the truth of the matter is, sometimes until you reach that path, you don't even understand that certain things are out there that you could. And I remember when I was purchasing the house, because my credit was in excellent standing and everything, I felt like between the mortgage company and the builders, I just showed up to sign documents. They did everything. I never had to do nothing. And then in the end, the lawyers are involved and all that kind of stuff. So they did all the work for me. All I had to do was show up. The lawyer explained my situation and all these paperwork that I'm signing. And I signed. Because you need your attorney when you're purchasing home and all that kind of stuff. So yeah. So that's a lesson that I am sharing out today, and I got nobody watching. But I'm going to keep this video and I'm going to share this video because I realize, like, I'm here, I'm sharing it because there's an appetite for that information. And then I'm going to push my fellow folks on threads to come and watch this video and understand the whole full 100 of it. So it took me like, what, 22 minutes? But I'm happy that I did it. That's why I turned off the music. I don't want copyright issues in my video. And so when I share it, just know that if you have any questions, you can ping me and pose your questions. And I will continue to make videos and share this information out because there's an appetite for this kind of thing. People want to know. There's also a piece that I'm going to talk about my interest rate, but I'm like 20 something minutes. That's for another video. And I'm going to share that information as well. Like the mortgage rate then as opposed to now, why mine is so low, why it's so high today, why I wouldn't refinance in today's climate right now, because it would have benefited me. It would be like my refinance that I did is like paying another mortgage for me, quite frankly. And so I want people to understand this, and especially people of color, or people, you know, or I consider myself not wealthy, just working class people. Like, these are the information we need. Nobody's sharing it out there willy nilly. And so yeah, so I am Kay. I am posting this video. I'm gonna leave it on my channel. I will share the link on threads. And yeah, pose your questions and I'll come back and make a video and follow up. Thank you for the opportunity, YouTube. Love you for that. Thanks. Peace.